The sun shone intensely in San Francisco, tinting the city in shades of gold and orange as I prepared for one of the most important days of my life. The aroma of fresh flowers, carefully arranged by my mother, filled the air, blending with the gentle breeze blowing from the sea. My friends and family were everywhere, smiles on their faces, laughter echoing like a melody I wanted to keep forever. It was my engagement to Michael, the love of my life, and the thought of spending the rest of my days with him filled me with joy. "Rachel, you look stunning!" exclaimed my best friend Clara as she adjusted the pearl necklace I was wearing. She was radiant, and I wondered if she felt the same anticipation that I did. "Thanks, Clara. I'm so nervous," I babbled, trying to contain the anxiety growing with each passing second. What if he doesn't show up? "Don't worry, he will be here. Michael always keeps his promises." Clara smiled, but I could sense a hint of doubt in her voice. What could prevent him from being here today? The thought quickly dissipated, and I forced myself to smile, remembering all the moments we had shared, from our childhood games to the perfect proposal he made under the city lights. Time seemed to slip through my fingers as I anxiously awaited the ceremony. I looked around and saw familiar faces, all happy for me. But a strange feeling began to unsettle me. Where was Michael? He should have arrived long ago. With each passing second, my heart beat a little faster, and worry began to creep into my mind. "I'll take a look outside," I said, determined to find my fiancé. Clara nodded, a worried look crossing her face. I left the room, and as I opened the door, I was greeted by a wonderful panorama of the city. The leaves on the trees danced gently in the wind, and the blue sky looked almost perfect. However, none of this eased the knot in my stomach. "Michael!" I called, but the only response was the echo of my voice. I walked to the garden, where the flowers were in full bloom, but there was no sign of him. With each step, panic began to set in. What could have happened? The idea that he might be stuck somewhere, or, worse, that something bad might have happened, paralyzed me for a moment. I decided to search among the guests, but no one seemed to have seen Michael. The smiles on people's faces turned into concern, and in a desperate act, I grabbed my phone and called his best friend, Tom. "Hi, Tom. Have you seen Michael? He hasn't shown up, and I'm starting to get worried." "Rachel, I don't know how to tell you this." Tom's voice sounded hesitant on the other end of the line. "No one has seen him since the early hours. He hasn't responded to messages, and I'm worried. I'll look for him." My heart stopped for a moment. "What do you mean, no one has seen him? He can't just disappear like that." The feeling of despair rose like a wave, and I almost couldn't breathe. "Calm down, Rachel. We'll find him. I'll gather some people and we'll look for him. Don't worry, he must be okay." Tom's attempt to console me sounded hollow, and I found myself paralyzed, unable to process the gravity of the situation. The ceremony that was supposed to be the beginning of a new life was turning into a nightmare. What would I do without him? Every second that passed felt like an eternity, and the only thing I knew was that I needed to find him. Hope was fading quickly, and despair was taking over me. The day that should have been the happiest of my life had become a whirlwind of uncertainties and fears, and I didn't know what to expect next. The morning of my engagement should have been one of the happiest days of my life, but everything changed in an instant. The room was decorated with colorful flowers, and the sweet aroma of roses filled the air. I was surrounded by friends and family, all smiling and eager to celebrate the love that Michael and I had built over the years. But as time passed and the ceremony approached, a restlessness began to settle in my heart. Michael was not around. "Rachel, you look so beautiful," said my best friend Clara as she adjusted my dress. I forced a smile, but the worry started to take hold of me. What could have happened to him? I looked out the window, hoping to see him arriving, but only saw dry leaves dancing in the wind. "Where's Michael?" I asked, trying to sound unconcerned. Clara frowned. "He must be on his way, don't worry. Everything is under control." But I couldn't calm down. When I finally decided to go out to look for him, the anxiety turned into despair. I searched every corner of the house, in every room, calling his name. But the only response I received was the echo of my own voice. "Michael, where are you?" I shouted, my voice trembling. Panic began to take hold of me. What was going on? I needed answers. The situation worsened when I received a call from Lucas, Michael's best friend. He sounded as worried as I was. "Rachel, no one has seen Michael since the early hours. I don't know what to do. He hasn't answered any messages." My heart stopped. This couldn't be possible. Michael would never do this. He promised me he would be by my side in every important moment. "What do you mean no one has seen him?" I asked, trying to control my voice that was trembling from my lips. "I'm trying to call him, but no answer. We'll look for him. I'm coming to your house now." "I'll go with you," I replied, already moving towards the door. The idea of being alone terrified me. The drive to Michael's house was filled with silence and uncertainties. I couldn't understand how all this was happening. He was always so responsible, so loving. What could have made him disappear? When we arrived, Lucas and I began to search every corner. We rummaged through his room. I opened the drawer of the desk and found something that sent chills down my spine. A note. The handwriting was unmistakable. It was his. But the message didn't make sense. "You need to understand. It's not safe. Go to our usual park." "What does this mean?" I murmured, showing the note to Lucas. He looked at me, confused. "Let's go to the park. It might be a clue." Hope began to sprout within me, however small. If he was sending me a message, there might still be a chance to find him. So we put the note in our pocket and headed to the park, which had always been our refuge. As we walked, the cool autumn breeze caressed my face, but I barely felt it. My mind was racing, trying to understand what could have happened to Michael. I remembered all the moments we spent there, laughing and dreaming about the future together. "Rachel, are you sure he's there?" Lucas asked, breaking the silence. "I have to believe he is. He's always been by my side, and if he left this, it means he wants me to find him." As soon as we arrived at the park, my heart was racing. The dry leaves crunched under our feet as we searched every corner. I called his name, but the only response was the distant song of birds. Frustration mixed with hope, and every minute that passed felt like an eternity. Then, as I looked at the bench where we used to sit, something caught my eye. It was another note stuck between the wooden planks. My heart raced. With trembling hands, I pulled out the paper and read the message that seemed to echo Michael's voice in my mind. The first few weeks after Michael's disappearance were an emotional roller coaster. As soon as I received the first anonymous letter, my heart raced. The handwriting was unmistakably his, but the message was filled with mystery and uncertainty. "Rachel, remember our special place where it all began." What did that mean? My brain wrestled between hope and despair, and I no longer knew who to trust. That morning, as the sun slowly rose on the horizon, I sat at the kitchen table, the letter in hand. The golden rays illuminated the yellowed paper, but I couldn't feel the sunlight. All I felt was a deep void. "Why did you do this, Michael?" I murmured to myself, feeling the lump in my throat tighten. My phone buzzed, and I nearly jumped out of my chair. It was a message from Sarah, my best friend. "Rachel, are you okay? Can we meet? You need to talk." The meeting was scheduled at the cafe we used to frequent. Upon arriving, I saw Sarah waving at me with a worried smile. "Hi, how are you?" she asked, pulling out a chair. "I don't know, Sarah. I don't know if I'm okay or about to freak out at any moment." I took a deep breath, trying to calm down. "I got a letter from Michael." She frowned, leaning forward. "What did it say?" "He mentioned a special place. What does that mean? What is he trying to tell me?" I felt lost, as if I were in a maze with no way out. "It might be a sign that he's trying to communicate somehow," Sarah suggested, but her expression was uncertain. "You need to go there. It might be a clue." "What if it's a trap?" I debated, remembering our conversations about safety and the dangers of the world. What if someone is playing with my feelings? "Rachel, you need answers. If it's not him, at least you'll know you tried," Sarah insisted, her voice firm. "I'll go with you." I thanked her, even amidst the storm of emotions consuming me. We decided to go to the park, a place that had always held special meaning for us. The walk there was filled with memories. Every tree and bench seemed to whisper stories of an innocent and happy love. Arriving at the park, the smell of damp leaves and earth enveloped me. The vibrant colors of autumn contrasted with my heavy heart. I sat on our favorite bench and looked around, trying to find any sign of Michael. "He could be here, right?" I murmured, more to myself than to Sarah. "Yes, he might be closer than you think," Sarah responded, looking around with a serious demeanor. Then, my gaze fell to the ground. A leaf was marked with something resembling a letter. I bent down and picked it up. It was another letter, partially hidden among the leaves. "Sarah, look at this," I called. My heart racing, she quickly approached. "What did you find?" "Another letter," I said, nervously opening it. The handwriting was familiar and the words seemed to dance in my mind. "Rachel, I need you to trust me. There's something I couldn't tell you. Go to the place where we watched the sunset for the first time." "This is definitely from him," said Sarah, her eyes shining with hope. "You need to go there." "But what if it's a trap? What if it's not him?" I was so confused. "Rachel, you'll never know if you don't try. We can't live in doubt," Sarah said firmly. "Let's go there now." The determination in her eyes gave me courage. With the letter in hand, I knew I needed to follow this new clue, even if fear paralyzed me. The sun was beginning to set, and I knew every moment counted. "Let's go," I said. And with one last look at the park, I left the memories behind, heading into the unknown. As soon as I stepped into the backyard of Michael's childhood home, a chill ran down my spine. The place seemed frozen in time, shrouded in an atmosphere of nostalgia and mystery. Fallen leaves danced in the wind, and the smell of wet earth brought back memories of sunny afternoons when we played there. With a racing heart, I went to the front door and pushed it open. It creaked as if awakening from a long sleep. Inside, the smell of dust and aged wood enveloped me. The house was almost empty, but the walls seemed to whisper stories of a past I barely knew. An old table was covered by a white cloth, and I couldn't resist the temptation to explore the cabinets. Every object I touched seemed to carry a piece of Michael's life. After a few frustrating attempts, I found a cardboard box in a corner of the room. With trembling hands, I opened the lid and, to my surprise, found a collection of photos and letters. The images revealed a Michael different from the one I knew. A smiling boy next to friends I had never seen, and the expression of joy on his face made me feel a pang of pain. What secrets had he not told me? Leafing through the letters, I realized the handwriting was familiar. It was Michael's, full of unpretentious strokes, but with a touch of sincerity I had always admired. One of them, yellowed by time, spoke of a friend who had become a shadow in his life. "Be careful with Lucas," the letter said. "He's not the same person I knew. I needed to understand what was happening. What was so dangerous about a friendship I had never known?" My heart raced at the thought of how this revelation could be linked to his disappearance. Just as I was about to be paralyzed by fear, the sound of footsteps pulled me out of my trance. I looked out the window and saw a woman approaching. Her light brown hair blew in the wind, and a look of recognition lit up her face. "Rachel," she called, and I recognized her. It was Clara, a longtime friend of Michael's. Rushing to open the door, I asked, "Clara, what are you doing here?" I was worried. I heard Michael disappeared. Her voice trembled slightly. The last time I saw him, he seemed distressed. I didn't know it was so serious. "Do you know anything about Lucas? He was in Michael's life, and it seems this friendship became dangerous," I said, trying to stay calm but feeling the urgency in every word. Clara hesitated, looking at the ground. Michael and Lucas were very close as children, but something changed. Lucas became different. He started getting involved in things Michael didn't approve of. I was the one who persuaded him to distance himself, but I fear it wasn't enough. The revelation made my stomach churn. How did I not know about any of this? "He never told me," I murmured, feeling a wave of frustration. "Why didn't he share this with me? He always wanted to protect you, Rachel. He didn't want you to worry, to feel threatened," Clara explained, her expression sad. "But now, if he's in danger, you need to know the truth." "Do you think Lucas is behind his disappearance?" I asked, anxiety growing in my chest. "I'm not sure," Clara replied. "But if he really has become a threat, you need to act quickly. Michael might be trying to protect you, but you can't wait any longer." With a heavy heart and a mind buzzing with questions, I realized that the letters I had received could be the key to understanding all of this. If Michael was trying to warn me, I couldn't ignore his messages. I needed to decipher them, each phrase, each word, to find the truth that was still hidden in the shadows. "Clara, I need your help. We need to find out where Lucas might be and what he's planning. I can't give up on Michael," I declared firmly. She nodded, determined. "We'll do this together. We can't let the past haunt his future or our love. We'll find Michael." That moment filled me with hope. I knew that despite all the challenges, I wasn't alone. With Clara by my side, I felt that the strength of love and friendship could light even the darkest paths. And so, the search for answers became a mission I was willing to face with every ounce of courage left in me. The morning was cold and cloudy, and the wind blew strongly, as if the universe itself was aware of my despair. I was determined to find Michael. The anonymous letters I received, each one carrying a part of us, were the only thread that kept me connected to him. Beside me, Jake, the private detective I hired, looked at me with an understanding expression. He had become a kind of anchor amidst the chaos. "Rachel, are you ready for this?" he asked, his voice soft, trying to convey some comfort. "Yes," I replied, though my heart was a whirlwind of emotions. "We need to go to the place where he used to go when he wanted to be alone, the park. That corner near the lake where we spent so many afternoons." Jake nodded, and within minutes, we were on our way. The aroma of dry leaves and the sound of birds echoed around us, but the beauty of autumn couldn't dissipate the cloud of anguish that hung over me. As soon as we arrived at the park, my eyes fixed on every detail. That place had been our refuge, and now it seemed like a maze filled with memories and uncertainties. "Let's look for clues," Jake suggested as we began to walk slowly. I remembered every laugh, every kiss, every moment we shared there. Then, something caught my attention. A small bench covered with leaves, the same one where Michael proposed to me. He must have left something here, I murmured to myself, crouching down and starting to remove the dry leaves. Suddenly, a small wooden box appeared, buried under the dirt. My breath quickened and Jake approached, curious. "What did you find?" he asked. "I think it's a memory box," I replied, with trembling hands. Carefully, I opened the box, and inside was a voice recording, a small recorder that Michael used to record ideas and memories. "Let's listen," Jake suggested, and so we did. As soon as I pressed the button, Michael's voice filled the air. "Rachel," he began, and my heart raced. "If you're hearing this, it means I'm in danger. I can't explain everything now, but there are things you need to know. I love you, and I never wanted this to happen." Tears streamed down my face as I listened. The recording continued, mentioning a meeting set in a place I didn't know. An old warehouse on the outskirts of the city. A wave of determination washed over me. "Jake, we need to go there," I declared, wiping away the tears. "It's the only clue we have." "All right, let's go," he responded, his tone firm and resolute. The rush took us through the streets of San Francisco, and with each turn, my heart beat faster. The warehouse was an old building with broken windows and graffiti-covered walls. As we entered, the faint light of the sun filtered through the cracks, creating an almost surreal atmosphere. "Michael!" I called, my voice echoing in the silence. The place was deserted, but a strange feeling told me we were in the right place. "Wait," Jake whispered, as his hands searched the area. He abruptly stopped, and I could feel his tension. "Rachel, do you feel that? Something's wrong here." Yes, I felt it. The air was heavy, and a chill ran down my spine. "We need to be careful," I replied, trying to stay calm. We continued to explore the warehouse, and then I found a crumpled piece of paper on the floor. Unfolding it, I saw handwriting I immediately recognized. It was Michael's. The note said he had found a clue about a threat, something he couldn't share but that put him in danger. "He was trying to protect me," I murmured, pain mixing with hope. Michael never wanted me to know, but he was fighting against something bigger. Jake looked at me, his eyes full of understanding. "That means we need to act fast. If he's in danger, we have to find him before it's too late." With a racing heart and renewed determination, I knew there was no turning back. It was time to fight for Michael, and I was willing to face whatever was necessary to bring him back. The cold sea wind struck my face as I drove towards the old lighthouse. The sky was tinged with a mix of orange and purple, the evening light creating a magical scene, but I could barely appreciate the beauty around me. My heart pounded erratically, echoing the adrenaline coursing through my veins. Michael's words from the voice recording still resonated in my mind. "Rachel, find the lighthouse. It's the only safe place." I didn't know what to expect, but the hope of finding him propelled me forward. When I parked the car, the cold sand of the beach spread under my feet as I walked towards the lighthouse. The old building, weathered by time and storms, looked as solemn as I felt. A mix of fear and anxiety enveloped me. What if he's not here? What if this is all a trap? I thought. But determination filled me with each step. Upon reaching the lighthouse door, my heart pounded. I took a deep breath and tried to calm down before pushing the door open, which creaked as it moved. The interior light was dim, and a spiral staircase led upwards. "Michael?" I called, my voice echoing off the cold walls. Part of me wished he would appear immediately, while another part was terrified that something had happened to him. Suddenly, I heard a noise from upstairs. Quickening my pace, I climbed the stairs, each step testing my courage. At the top, I found Michael. He was there in the flesh, but his expression was tense. "Rachel!" he exclaimed, and upon seeing me, his eyes softened. I ran to him and hugged him, feeling his warmth and safety. "Oh my God, I was so worried," I murmured, tears streaming down my face. "I'm so sorry, Rachel. I never wanted to leave you like this," he said, his serious tone making my heart ache. "The letters. I needed you to know you were safe, but I couldn't risk meeting you. They're after me." "Who is after you?" I asked, confused and terrified. "A gang. An ex-friend of mine became dangerous, and I didn't know how to handle it. I had to hide to protect you," he explained, his gaze full of pain. "The letters were the only way I could communicate without putting you at risk." I felt a mix of relief and frustration. "You should have told me. I could have helped," I protested, wiping the tears from my face. "I'm not weak, Michael. I wouldn't have given up on you. I know, but I didn't want you involved in this. I thought it was the best way." He hesitated, then looked at me, his eyes filled with determination. "But now that you're here, we can't stay. They could find us at any moment." Before I could respond, we heard voices downstairs. Panic took over me, and Michael grabbed my hand, pulling me towards the stairs. "Quick! We need to get out of here!" We descended in silence, but the sound of approaching footsteps grew louder. When we reached the ground, I saw shadows moving, and my heart raced. "Michael! They're here!" I whispered, desperate. "Trust me," he replied, his voice firm. "We'll go out the back." We exited through the back door, and the sea breeze brought a salty, fresh smell. We ran towards the beach, but the gang's voices grew louder. "They're close!" I shouted. Suddenly, a car appeared, and I saw the detective I had hired. He stepped out of the vehicle with a determined expression. "Here! Quickly!" he shouted, and we ran towards him. "Get in the car!" Michael and I jumped inside, and the detective accelerated. The sound of tires screeching on the road was like music to my ears. As the car sped away from the lighthouse, I looked at Michael. "We made it," he said, holding my hand. "We're safe now." But before we could relax, the detective looked in the rearview mirror and frowned. "We have company. A car is following us." My heart raced again, and I looked back, seeing a black vehicle quickly approaching. "Michael, what are we going to do?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "We need to lose them," Jake said, accelerating even more. "Hold on!" The car sped through San Francisco's winding streets, and the chase intensified. Michael held my hand tightly, his eyes filled with determination. "Rachel, trust Jake. He knows what he's doing." After several minutes of tension and risky maneuvers, Jake managed to lose the car that was following us by turning into a narrow, poorly lit street. We parked in an abandoned garage, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. "We're safe for now," Jake said, turning off the engine. "But we need to find a safer place and plan our next steps." Michael and I hugged, feeling a mix of relief and fear. "Rachel, I promise we'll get through this together," he said, looking into my eyes. "But we need to figure out what Lucas really wants and how we can stop him." Then, the unexpected twist happened. While we were in the garage, the sound of footsteps echoed. Before we could react, the door opened and Lucas entered, a cold smile on his face. "Surprise," he said, his voice full of malice. "Did you think you could escape from me so easily?" My heart raced again, and I realized that the battle was far from over. With Michael by my side and renewed determination, I knew we would need all our courage to face what was coming.